Hi everyone, CeeCee here, and today I'm making Christmas cards. So today I'm going to show you how to maximize your stamp collection by taking a regular or generic stamp set and turning this into a Christmas project just by adding stuff that you might have in your stamp collection and some other supplies. So let me show you how I did this. Okay, so I have gone ahead and stamped all the images that I'm going to need to make my cards, and this is the stamp set that I use. And what I did also is when I stamped them, I made sure that there was enough space between the images because we're going to use the dies that come with the stamp set right here, and what they do is they leave a border around each images. So I made sure that I had enough space, so I did my 5 big owls and my 5 mini owls in the branches, and I've also gone ahead and stamped some leaves. And oh, by the way, I used for the branches because I wanted them a little darker. So I used the Adirondack Earth Tones Espresso ink for this from Ranger. And as far as the little owls, I used the Memento ink in Rich Cocoa because we're going to color these images with Copic markers, and Memento ink has been specifically formulated for Copic coloring. So this is the only reason why I'm using the Memento ink for these. I also have gone ahead and stamped some more leaves. Let me show you the other leaves that I had used for this card here. So, and let me do a close-up so you can see what I'm saying. Okay, so as you can see here, they are stamped in, let me grab my ink pad. So originally I had stamped the leaves stamp on this mint green cardstock with the Juniper Adirondack Lights ink pad. But as it turns out, when I added the Cool Highlights micro fine glitter, you can't hardly tell that there's a stamp right underneath there. So what I did is I used this stamp pad from Close to My Heart, which I had in my stash for a very long time, and this is the color Juniper. So I went ahead and I stamped this onto my mint green cardstock, and I'm hoping that this will give me the effect that I want, meaning that I'll have kind of like a light-ish color, but still be able to make out what the stamp is underneath the glitter once I cover everything with glitter. So that's the plan. Before I go ahead and cut everything with the dies, I'm going to go ahead and color all my images. When I color with Copics, I usually like to shade or do some shading and some blending, but I won't be doing that. I will still stick to my guns and do like just a straight up, just unified coloring is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and color, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I've finished coloring my images, and these are the colors that I used. Obviously I used black, which is number 100, and then I used E81 Ivory, BG32 Aqua Mint, RV42 Salmon Pink, and E99 Baked Clay. And these colors were used on the tiny one. I colored the flowers inside the little baby owl different colors, and I also used the BG32 for the wings of the bigger one. And of course, the black was used to accent the nose on the big and the inside of the eyes, and some of those, they're kind of like scalloped lines. And now I'll use the Clear Star Jelly Roll pen, which is a glittery pen, to color inside of the flowers here and on the scallops of the big owl. And I'll also use a white Signo gel pen to dot the eyes. Look at how beautiful that is. I love the glitter on this. And here's what it looks like on the scallops. What I love about this pen is that it dries almost instantly, so you don't have to wait until it dries. Like for instance, if you use stickles, I could have used stickles on this, but I prefer to use this for two reasons. Yes, it dries fast, but it also allows me to go into detail because these flowers are very, very intricate. They're tiny. They're not so intricate, but they're really tiny, so it would have been difficult to use the stickles on these, so that's why I went for the Stardust pen. So I've done my coloring for now. It is time to glitter our leaves, and for this I'm going to use the microfine glitter in Cool Highlights, and I'm also going to use Suquang tape, and this one is a 6-inch width roll. It comes in different sizes, and it also comes in sheets, so you can inquire about that at your local scrapbook store. And if you're local to Montreal, Scrapbook Central on the West Island is the place to get that. So I'm just going to, this is the sticky side right here, I'm going to lay the side where the images are right over the sticky side. Like this. I know it's kind of crooked, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to grab my X-Acto knife and an old cutting mat for that. And I'm simply going to cut that off. And what I want to do now is reveal the sticky side of the other side of the Suquang tape. I'm going to bring in a piece of copy paper just so I can recuperate the excess glitter, and I usually also use a dry brush. This is a big fluffy brush. It's perfect for that. And I'll just pour that right over my piece, swish it around a little bit, and I'm going to use the brush to redistribute the glitter all over the cardstock, like so. And I also use it to sort of make sure that all the glitter is stuck well in place, and also to do the first level of burnishing. This will have to get burnished a lot because this is microfine glitter, and we also refer to this technique as the velvet technique with glitter, just because once you've burnished this with your finger, it really becomes very smooth, and it's really microfine glitter. It's not just extra fine glitter, it is microfine glitter. So I'm going to transfer the excess into my jar. As usual, I always have my handy dandy Swiffer refill sheet. It just picks up the glitter beautifully. And I'm going to burnish this. Now, I usually burnish with my fingers, but since this is a very big piece, I'm going to use the protective layer of the Suquang tape, and that way I'm not going to take the skin off my fingers. Not that I would, but I want this really, really well burnished. And I'm happy with the way the leaves look. It's a lot darker than my initial card. You can see the difference here between that and that. I'm not sure how it's going to go or how it's going to work with the overall feel of the card, but we'll see. We'll see. I might mix some of the old ones or some of my original ones. I still have some with these ones, so we'll see. We'll see how that plays. Alright, well, that was quite the workout. I ended up using the palm of my hand. Now we're going to deal with the Christmas accessories to our little owls. And by that I mean this stamp set by Dylusions. It is called Christmas Accessories. It's number DYR 35800. And I'm going to use a combination of these items. I have used this Santa hat on my original card. I'm going to use the beard and mustache. I'm going to use this little hat here, which is adorable. And what I want to do first is cover that whole surface here with some Suquang tape again, simply because I'm going to glitter first and then stamp over that. The reason being is that I want that hat to, or the beard or whatever, to stand out. Just because all my elements here have been stamped on paper, they're quite dark. If I were to stamp underneath the glitter and then cover it up with, and color and then cover it up with glitter, this would kind of be faded, and I want it to have the same value as the other items on my card. So this is the only reason why I'm glittering first and then stamping on it. And yes, you can stamp on that microfine glitter because it is absolutely microfine. So it kind of gives you a smooth surface. Now, I'm going to glitter and then I'll talk to you about the inks that you can use on top of the glitter afterwards. Alright, so my two pieces are burnished. Let's talk about inks now. Now, the first time I did this, I used StazOn ink to stamp over the glitter because I thought that none of the other inks would adhere to the glitter. The only problem with using the StazOn is that we're going to color with Copic afterwards. And Copics and StazOn do not mix well. They actually mix in the terms that the Copic will have the StazOn bleed into the Copic marker because this is a solvent ink pad. So alcohol and alcohol don't mix together, they sort of mesh together. Although I was able to achieve a decent coloring because this is exactly what I used on my card yesterday, my original card. And as you can see, I don't have any smudges at all. I did go around the contours carefully, but it still didn't mix, or it doesn't show. If it did mix it, I didn't really see it. So I went ahead and did some testings after that, and to my amazing astonishment, I realized that the Memento ink, which is specifically formulated for Copic, does stay on the microfine glitter. So yay! Now I can stamp over the glitter and color with Copic without any fear. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to start with, I'm going to do two small hats like these. And this time around, because I'm going to be cutting with a pair of scissors, I'm not too concerned about putting too much space in between the images. And because this glitter paper is precious to me, I'm going to try and save as much as possible because I can always reuse this and punch shapes out of that. So I'm going to make sure that this is really dry before I start coloring. I'll be using the same colors of Copic that I used to color the owls. I'm going to start with the lightest value. I'm going to fill in all the empty spaces with the E81. And the trick to coloring with Copics is not to linger too long in one spot, just because it is alcohol based and the glitter might come off because the alcohol might dissolve the adhesive that you've got underneath that glitter. So your goal basically is just to skim over the surface and don't linger too long in one spot. And as you can see, I get really good coverage with the Copics. And again, I'm not doing any shadowing techniques on today's drawing. I've done it in the past, and in fact I think I have some videos on that already. But for today, I'm just keeping it simple. Yeah, I think I'm going to bring in my C1, and I'm just going to go around some of those areas. Oh, it's quite close. So you can see the outline. I'm going to do, I had stamped another one here. Okay, and then I'll do the hat, and I'll do one pink and one mint green. And you can see the ink is not, the Memento ink is really not smudging at all. So I'm going to cut that with scissors, and I'll leave a small white border around it. I was explaining to you earlier why I went with coloring over the glitter. This is the sample that I had done earlier or yesterday before I completed the project. This is stamped directly on the cardstock, and then I added the glitter over it. And as you can see, there's quite a bit of difference between these two. Oops. Oh, it's because I have dimensionals here. Obviously the camera's not going to pick up now. Here, if we look at it from further away, you can see that this is way too light, and it would have been way too light for my owl because the owl is really in your face. So that is the reason why I chose to do it this way. Alright, so I've got all the components now. It's time to die cut, and I'm going to be using these dies. And what I do when I die cut images that I've already stamped with these thin metal dies, what I'll do is I'll lay this on top of the image like so, and I'm using Eclipse tape, which is a sticky tape, but it's removable, and it's specifically made for masking, but it's also great to hold these shapes in place without damaging your images or your paper. And this will come really handy, especially when I die cut on the glitter itself here, on the glitter cardstock. So I'm just going to, actually here, I'm going to mask this. Oops. And this will hold the die in place when I run it through my die cutting system. So, and the same will do on this sheet here. I'll take the small leaf and then obviously the cutting side down onto the cardstock, and I'll just hold this in place, cut it through the machine, and then this will come right off. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all my pieces, and then we're going to start putting our card together. Another tip for you for die cutting on sticky, or not sticky but glittered cardstock, is to use a cutting mat or a cutting plate that is relatively clean. If you look at this side here, I've got some remnants of the foam that is on regular die, you know, that black foam, and when you die cut, obviously little bits stay on your cutting mat. And I found through experience yesterday, where are my examples? Right here. When I ran it through my die cutting system, I had these, because it really is a sticky surface. Well, it's not really a sticky surface, but when you apply a lot of pressure, the little glitter kind of make room for whatever's on top of the plate, and it actually picked up a lot of that foam, that black foam that I had on the cutting plate. So try to use one that is relatively clean, like this one here. I barely have a few here, so I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to start die cutting now. I'm quite happy with these leaves. I really, really like them. It's going to give a different look to my card, definitely. This is a lot softer. But I like both. I'm definitely going to use both on my cards. Okay, so I finished die cutting all my pieces for the cards, and I will give you some of the measurements here. First of all, the pattern paper is one by Studio Calico from the Heyday collection. It's called Dew. And this is, it was a big sheet with different rectangles on them, and they more or less measured 3 by 4. Some of the measurements were a little bit off, so what I did is I cut them up all the same size, so they turned out to be 3 by 3 and 15/16, so almost 4 inches, 1/16 of an inch shy of 4 inches. And originally I thought I was going to use this side, but then I decided that I would use the other side, which is a regular pattern paper. Then I have the mats to fit these, so they end up being 3 1/4 by 4 3/16 of an inch, and it's kind of like a juniper, like a light juniper color. I have 6 pieces of white cardstock that measure 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and my card base. The card bases are 4 1/4 by 11 inches, which I have scored down the middle at the 5 1/2 inch mark. So these are for the papers and cardstock of the card. And then I've got all my elements. As you can see, they're all nice and die cutted. I did cut these glitter ones out of, with a pair of scissors because they came from a different stamp set and there was no die for them. So I'm going to speed this up so you can see my process. You can see me assemble them. Once all my cards are assembled, I'm going to think of the sentiment that I'm going to be putting on the card. It's going to be something that I will have to do on my computer and print it out on cardstock. But I just want to put all the cards together and see what space I have to play with for the sentiment. Okay, so I have assembled everything that I could assemble on my cards. There's 3 different styles, like the one with the beard. And what I'm going to do is I went ahead and printed a sentiment from my printer onto cardstock. It says Happy Owls. And I'm going to take a oval punch by Stampin' Up! And I'm going to punch a little bit off center because I'm going to cut that right side here, which is the left side when it's the right side up. So what I want to do now is cut this straight with a pair of scissors and then pop the whole thing up. So I'm going to try and be as straight as I can, like so. And I will put 2 layers of popped or foam dots on the left hand side, and then just one at the end here, because this is raised, and I'm going to raise again on on that piece. So I need double here and single here. Like so. Oops. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and finish all this up, and I'm going to come back to wrap up. And there you have them. I think they're cute. It's just an unconventional Christmas card. I think it's different, it's fun, it's young. I'm thinking teenagers and young hip people wouldn't mind receiving a Christmas card like that. So I was able to take a non-Christmas stamp set, the owl stamp set, and just by adding these elements on them and also by glittering the leaves, it looks like the leaves are actually frosted. Let me just show you a close-up of one of them. Love the shimmer, love that the velvet technique. A lot of fun. I like the sentiment too. So there you have it. Just use your imagination and look at your stash and, you know, look at your stamp sets in a different way, and you might be surprised at what you can actually create. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, as usual, leave them below, and I will see you soon. Au revoir.